I can't believe I'm drinking this. I don't know what else to say. What's up, guys? Welcome back to Whiskey on the West Coast. Matt here, and I'm so dang excited. Oh my gosh. Okay, let me give you the lowdown on what's going on here. There's no bottle on the desk. There's a good reason for that, a really good reason. All right, so I'm just gonna cut to the chase. What I have in my glass right here is a 1 ounce pour of a bottle of whiskey that costs right now at the Whisky Exchange 1,500 pounds a bottle. It's $2,500 Canadian. It's more than that actually, technically, right now. I'm stunned that I get to try this, and I'm raring to go. So what's in this glass? I have in this glass 1 ounce of the Macallan 1876 replica bottle. Now, the replica bottles, they were a series of bottles that were done based off of bottles that Macallan purchased from private collections and at auction of old Macallan bottlings. Macallan, Speyside Distillery, I feel like the whole world knows them. I feel like most people love them. I have a complicated relationship with Macallan, but this bottle could be something special. I don't know. The replica series, again, there were technically 4 bottles in this series. It started off with an 1874 that was based off of a bottle of whiskey, single malt Scotch whiskey from the year 1874, made by the Macallan. All right. Then they came out with an 1841, I believe, and after that came the 1876. There was an 1861. And then there was kind of like an extra little bottle after the replica series, which was called the Inspiration, or 1851 Inspiration. And there's a reason why there's a different name attached to it. These bottles, they were all made to look almost identical to the original antique bottles. The labels, like they had special corks in them, and the glass, like it was like pitted, old school. Antique style glass. Really cool idea behind the series. And so this one in particular was based off of 2 bottles from 1876 that they were able to source. Okay. Now, why don't I have a bottle of this in front of me? Well, simple reason is I do not have $2,500 burning a hole in my pocket to go spend on a bottle of whiskey. I just don't. Maybe one day, who knows? But I was checking out some local spots in British Columbia here. I happened to spy a bottle of Macallan 1876 alongside a bottle of Macallan 1841 replica series on a shelf. I inquired about the prices. I was able to get a 1 ounce pour of the 1876 for $23 Canadian. Unreal for me, unreal. Okay, so that's why I do not have the bottle. And also, I'm just so freaking excited. All right. So we've talked about the concept behind the replica series, the replica bottlings. Now, there's kind of an infamous history behind these bottles too. The bottles in question, a lot of them were sourced from private collections and through auction, as I mentioned. And a lot of these bottles evidently came through Italy through 2000 to 2002. And after they started making these bottles for the replica series, they had experts inspect the bottles and do some carbon dating. They inspected how old the labels were on them. They inspected the liquid. They took a look at everything, right down to the fine points, and they started to find that a lot of these bottles were actually indeed fakes. I don't know how many. They kind of were hush-hush about how much of the collection that they bought was fake in the end. If I remember correctly, some of the things that they were finding were details like it referenced Macallan and Talisker Distillers Limited, and there was never a time when Macallan and Talisker were owned in the 1800s and the 19th century by the same person. It was, I believe, Roderick Kemp, and he actually sold Talisker to be able to fund his purchase of Macallan in 1892. So again, there was like little inconsistencies. They were able to pull the threads and find out, indeed, the bottles are fake. There's one bottle that I know was confirmed to be based on a real bottle, and that was the 1874 in the Replica series. And to my knowledge, at least, the other three are based off of fake liquid, which is a shame, because I would have really loved to know what Macallan tasted like in 1876. However, here we are. What juice was in that bottle? Who knows? When they investigated, they found liquid in some of these bottles that were purportedly from the 19th century. Some of the liquid was from post 1950. So they still could have based it off some very old Macallan. Who knows? What I do know is that to make the liquid that goes into the 1876 specifically, and we'll talk about specifically the 1876 at this point, it's 40.6% alcohol. Macallan doesn't color their whiskey. They don't say it on the bottle. The bottle's a contract. Ralphie tells us that. However, they do say it elsewhere. They don't color their whiskey. It's probably chill filtered. I would bet on it for sure. So they've stripped some of the oils out of it to make sure it stays clear when you add water when it gets cold. So 40.6% bottled in 2003. Some of the whiskey in it is older. The whiskey maker at the time mentioned that some of the casks of peated Macallan, yeah, you heard that right, peated Macallan in this vatting, some of those casks were from around just after he started at the distillery, and he had started in 1984. So 1985, 1986 maybe. So that would put it at about 18-year-old peated Macallan in this. We don't know what's in it. We simply haven't been told. And I am just raring to go to get my nose into this glass, to nose it, to taste it, and to find out, is it any good? It retailed for about £100 when it first came out in 2003. That's about 160 or so Canadian. It's only gone up in price since it was discovered to be based off of fake bottles. Imagine that. All right, I think there's only one thing left to do. Let's get into this. So I let this sit for a while, and I placed a kind of Glencairn lid on top of it because the nose seemed a little shy at first. That helped immensely because I'm pulling apples, white grape, and honey. And the fruitiness and the sweet is balanced nicely by some moderate spicing. Some sort of big spice. It's not cinnamon. It's probably something more akin to like a nutmeg. You can tell there's some sherry in here. Macallan's known for their sherry casks, obviously, but they do use ex-bourbon casks as well, so we can't rule that out here. There's this nice sort of like butter tart thing going on. Yeah, there's like a sticky sweetness to it. I guess that goes back to the honey again as well. It's a little touch sour on the nose right at the end. I am actually surprised how well this nose is holding up, because I do not know how long that bottle has been open for. It could have been open for a year. It could be open for 3, 4, 5 years. The bottle was released almost 20 years ago. Yeah, I wonder what this would be like on a fresh bottle crack, neck pour. There's a touch of like a mustiness. And I'm not sure if this is coming from, like, if this is an earthiness that might be coming from a small amount of peat. I don't want to be thrown off by the presence of peated distillate in this, just knowing from my research that they use some peated Macallan. Maybe I'm looking for it. Maybe I'm trying to convince myself it's there. But I think it's there. But the slightest amount of peat. And again, it could have faded from the bottle being open. I'm actually surprised at how well balanced this nose is. I'm very harsh on Macallan. I really am. Maybe I should cut them some slack. They've done some great things to earn their reputation. I'm a little bit of a cynic. So it's well balanced, and it's well balanced between some richer tones and a brightness I'm probably getting from some younger whiskey they added in there. It's bright and it's complex, which I'm really happy to discover. I didn't mention it earlier because I was focused on honey and apple and all these other sweet sort of fruits, but there is a malt backbone to it as well. So there's just some malt sweetness. All right, here we go. First sip. Sláinte. Okay. So 40.6% alcohol. It is drinking actually stronger than that. There is a robustness to this palate. The malt comes through quite strongly. The spice as well from the sherry casks. Honey. Good amount of oak. A little bit drying on the back end of the palate. And yeah, I would say there's some peat there. Just kind of wafting through the finish. Not strong. If you weren't looking for it, maybe you wouldn't find it and you just put it down to some sort of earthiness, some sort of musty, almost like dunnage tone. Yeah, the sweetness is really well tamed by the spice. Bit of white chocolate on the palate too. Yeah. Almost like a mandarin orange too, with a bit of that sour still pulling through. Sorry guys, it's really something to be tasting a whiskey for the first time and giving the tasting notes. I usually don't review from samples for obvious reasons. You're just getting a snapshot of the bottle in that moment, and you're not getting to drink through the development of that bottle and see it through the whole time. So it's a little bit of a flawed process, but how else? There's no other way I'd be able to get to taste a bottle like this. Here, I'm gonna try and roll it around here and see if I can show you some of the legs on this. Not sure if it picks that up. There's some moderate beating. It's not dropping right away. The palate's not thin. It's actually thicker than it deserves to be, nearly the bottom at 40.6%. I gotta give this credit. It's actually pretty good. It's actually pretty good. Yeah, honey, vanilla, white chocolate. Apples pull through, a mustiness, touch of smoke. It's good. I hate to admit it, it's good. Wow. Okay. How do you score something like this? Because you can be tempted to give it a huge score because you're probably never gonna taste it again. There was just shy of 20,000 bottles of this made about 20 years ago. I feel like a lot of people actually opened them and drank them. You can get it cheaper than the Whisky Exchange price at auction. And the other question too, if you're trying to score something like this, do you score it on the original price of about $160 back in 2003? Do you score it at today's price of nearly $2,500, 1,500 pounds? Oh man, it's tough, and it's not fair to score it off of the sample. It really isn't. Again, it's a flawed process to not drink through the bottle, but you got to do what you got to do. One more sip here, and I'll try to place a mark on this. I lied. I'm gonna let a little water work in there too, just in case. That water opened up some more oak on the nose. More sweetness. Knocked back some of the spice. The palate somewhat collapses with the addition of just a couple drops of water. I wouldn't recommend adding water to this. Not nearly as complex, not nearly as cohesive, and it thinned it out. Yeah, no, don't add water to this. Okay, I said I'd give this a score. I'm gonna have to give it it's gonna get an 86 from me. I am so thankful to have been able to try this whiskey. It's an experience. It's something that you read about. You read about the fake bottles. You read about the whole series and having to backtrack and change it from the Replica series to the Inspiration series. It's part of whiskey history, especially with a distillery like the Macallan. However, it was priced at such a price at $160 Canadian, 100 pounds back in 2003. That is a high price at that time for this whiskey. And if I had paid that and got this delivery, I wouldn't have been upset, but I wouldn't have rushed out to buy another bottle. I wouldn't have repurchased it unless I was investing, and whiskey's meant to be opened. Crack those bottles. Yeah, I think that's a fair score. However, it's not at 2003 prices anymore. I'm not going to score it off of a $2,500 price tag, because if that was the case, it would get an F. It really would. If I spent $2,500 and got this, I wouldn't be happy. So for me, is it worth it? No, of course it's not worth it. $2,500 for a bottle of nearly basement-proofed whiskey, based on a fake bottle. It's not worth the price tag for what is delivered in the glass. However, I think there is a person that this bottle is meant for. Because it's not worth it to me. It's probably not worth it to you if you're watching this video. But there are those liquid antiquarians, to steal a term, that want to complete the collection, that want to have it all, and have the money in the pocketbooks to do so. And if you're that person, why not have this bottle? It's an interesting story. It's a captivating story. It is something that you could talk about for a long time. It is a huge talking point. And you get to be part of that history. You get to experience that history. So if money's if price is just not a problem, yeah, go out and get a bottle. Get the whole series. Taste them all. Report back to us. Make your own video, please. Because there's only, from what I could see, one other video about this bottling on YouTube. Thank you, Horse Looning, whisky.com. Yeah, so for the right person, I'm sure it's worth it. For me, I couldn't spend that money on this. If you could try any unicorn bottle, any bottle that is eluding you, it's outside of the realm of what you can afford to purchase, or you just can't find it, it's that rare, what would it be? Comment down below. What is your unicorn bottle that you would choose if you had a choice? Thanks for joining for another video on Whiskey on the West Coast. If you can go ahead and subscribe, like, share this video, come back for more in the future, I'd love it. All right, sláinte.